Okay, we did it. All right, cool. Cool, 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 cool. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Jay with Gun Buddy Social. It's been a minute, and I'm sorry about that. It's overdue, way overdue, past a lot of milestones and markers and all kinds of stuff. So uh, it's awesome to have this be going. So um, I wanted to do a video. So it's been kind of so again, I started carrying in 2013 when I got my license to carry firearms at 21 in Pennsylvania, um, and it's been a progression ever since. You learn every day. As a regular dude that just really um, likes to put thought into um, the gear. I mean, there's a lot. Again, get training, of course. That's first and foremost. But generally these videos tend to get people's attention as far as just the idea of um, you know people's opinion on setting things up and how things refine over time. It's interesting to document the progression. So um, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my current EDC as of June 2020. Basically, what things I've been, uh, you know, um, carrying on a daily basis on or about my person. Also, um, generally what has changed since I did do a EDC video maybe 2 years ago, and it's generally the same, um, but there has been some refinement as far as little pieces. So starting at 12 o'clock. So right now, yes, I have an iPack T-shirt. So right now, um, one of the main things and this is, you know, this is me on a daily basis, which is basically jeans. So I'm very lucky. Even when I was, you know, uh, coming out of college and working jobs, I was able to do everything around jeans, and that's kind of been what I've kind of built my system around. So everything that I carry is based around the idea that I will likely be wearing jeans at that time. So starting, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to start, of course, front. I'm going to start left side, typically what I carry, and then we'll start breaking down when I started carrying it later in the video, but just how I have everything set up. So left side for me, I have knife. All right. This is an Emerson Sheepdog. It's a Bowie version, serrated. Uh, this is it's a great knife. It's my second Emerson. I carry a Zippo lighter. This was actually a gift. This is from a coworker. Not religious, so for God and country is not exactly, but the it's still relevant. Um, Also, left pocket, I carry. Uh, so at SHOT Show, when I was there in 2019, Surefire, I'm a big Surefire guy, but Surefire was giving out Sonic Defenders. So basically, this is hearing protection. I always have it. Also play guitar, so they come in handy, but not saying if I was ever in a situation I'd be able to wait a minute, let me put in my hearing protection, you know, before anything, but it's just handy to have it at all times. And it's great that it stays in this little case, so it keeps everything great. It's great when you're on planes. I take these around the world, literally. Also, I typically have a guitar pick in there. I was just using that. So, but guitar pick also fits in there perfectly, and that's always with me. And the case holds up very well. for what it is. All right. Right pocket. So typically, I know this seems silly, but I carry a dog poop bag because a lot of times I have the pup with me. So having a poop bag at all times, trust me, is a good thing to have. Plus, you can carry other shit. But car keys, you know, also always keep an eyeglass cleaner as far as, you know, and it's always because somebody who professionally wears glasses should always, you know, have the ability to clean them. Always have a pen, a stainless steel pen too. Again, this goes around the world. It everywhere, you know. It's, you know, in a pinch, it can work, but it's otherwise an ordinary pen. It's a Parker Jotter GT. This is not my first one of this. I've lost others and one that had gone more places, but you know, this goes. So also in the watch pocket, now this is kind of interesting. This tends to fit in every, so as a multi-tool, this tends to fit in every watch pocket that I've encountered. And it's nothing extravagant. It's a cheap Cabela's multi-tool. It's, you know, made in China. You know, it has, you know, main thing is the pliers. That's helpful. Also, the flathead is generally helpful. And then also this, you know, in a pinch, this Phillips head tool is something that I use. But typically I use this as far as utilitarian tasks. The knife here is what I usually use for opening cardboard and boxes. So I don't really like to use the defensive knife. So this Emerson strictly is for defensive stuff. So it doesn't, as you can see, it's the actual blade is pristine because it does not get used for anything other than, you know, it's had a good life, so to speak. So yeah, the multi-tool goes into the watch pocket. So right now, so I switched it up today. So typically I carry P30s. Specifically lately, I've been carrying a P30L, which is a full size. But right now, I'm carrying basically a, so this, just to make it, all right. So this is clear visually. All right. So anywho, so today I'm carrying basically Glock 32, or if you were to typically see people carry Glock 19, industry standard Gen 4. So that is what's on the right side. Also, this is typically what I'm carrying every day as far as holster wise. So this is basically the Armadillo Concealment Lux. It's a light bearing holster that I've been running for some time. And again, I'm going to get more into the minutia of everything, but I'm just giving you an overview of how I run things. So this basically is a light bearing holster for the X300, Surefire X300 Ultra. I run it with the soft loops, and I'll get into philosophy of why I run soft loops, but that also moving to the right rear pocket, I carry a soft T wide, and then I have a Ranger band that keeps it all nice and tidy. So this is a Gen 3. It's been running for a little bit. It doesn't look pretty, but it doesn't get sun, so it's just more so, you know, it just looks a little rough, but you know, it's still going strong, and it integrally is okay. And I'm so sorry about the camera, but you know, it's you know, hanging in there. All right, so I run this right rear pocket, very important. You know, I'm somebody who doesn't have extensive medical training, and that's my fault. And I'll be working on that, shortly. But I know how to run this at least, and at least for myself, or my wife, or somebody who um, is hemorrhaging. This may be the difference between them bleeding out and not. So it's something good to have. So moving right, so right rear. I also carry a spare mag, and also sometimes I carry a backup gun. Um, Lately, not so much, and I'll get into that as well. So left rear pocket, wallet. This is an SOE wallet. This is like been running for a good while. I will get into this too, as far as my thoughts, as far as not too much into the company, but this is basically the only thing that I'm running really right now, other than chest rig, because it's a long story. And otherwise, and left rear, as far as illumination, it's always handy to have, a administrative light, um, you know, and also, um, serves as more like a defensive light as well. So dual purpose is a Surefire E2T MV tactician. So this has been around the world as well the last few years, and it's held up very well. And I do love this light. All right, so that's the pockets. Oh, left side. So I might as well get into, so foundation for me, large part, is going to be the belt, or belts for me. So generally when I'm carrying one gun, it's going to be this. So an Ares Aegis, Ares gear, Aegis. And this belt's been great. As you can see, it's pretty stiff, even in standard format, and especially with what I carry, it's been pretty reliable. And then typically I have a dual mag carrier, and this is from Bravo Concealment. This also has held up excellently. So that's kind of what I initially carry, and I know that some people would say that's a lot. Maybe. Again, it everybody's opinion. For me, not so much. I think what I carry is the pretty balanced, as far as, so it's not too what would the word be? It's not too much of a burden, Oh, and also glasses too, if we're talking about EDC as well. These are IC Berlins. So, for example, they don't have screws. They're screwless design. These are, so this is a little piece of technology. And phone-wise, also, I'm running an old iPhone 6 Plus. So S Plus. So getting into, all right, so I guess we'll start with what people care about guns. Of course, that's usually the popular topic. So why? So I have 4. All right, 4 that are really kind of like in common rotation for me. The first being the P30, so Heckler & Koch P30. The second being the Heckler & Koch P30L. The third being the Glock 32, and the fourth, which usually serves as a backup gun, is basically the Smith & Wesson Shield. This is the 1.0 version with no thumb safety. Generally, so starting out, who's been longest in running, that's basically been my P30. So starting in late 2014, I purchased this. So P30, I purchased 12/14/2004, so December 2014. The X300 here, UB Model B, is a 600 lumen version. I purchased this in March 2016, and it's basically been running on this since that time frame. I did have it, well, no, late 2016 is when I would say, because I did have this originally on a Beretta Brigadier Tactical. I didn't carry that, but it was on there. So how did I get to this? Well, long story short, HK had a kind of like a rebate kind of promotion kind of going on, and basically it brought it down to what a Glock at a small shop would be. A 17 and 19 would typically be at a small shop, so around $600 or so, and after rebate, and scooped it up, and I've been very happy with this. Definitely a learning curve. This is stock. It doesn't have a gray guns kit or anything like that. So it is stiff as far as the double action out of the box initially, but it does wear in pretty nice. This has about, conservatively, I'd say about 3,500 rounds through it. Not a lot, especially plenty more life to go, but I did put it through a couple classes. So one was fighting pistol. Two, I did my security certification with this, qualified, and got a 48 out of 50. So it's not nothing extreme, but if you do your part, it does its part, and it's been very reliable in my experience. Typically, its diet is, and this is going to kind of reiterate also with the P30L, but as far as practice ammunition, I tend to run basically Winchester NATO 9mm. So it's going to be, pressure-wise, it's going to be higher than your typical range ammunition, but it's great practice ammunition for me. It's been reliable, and I also store it basically just in case, if say there's a run on defensive ammunition. It has a sealed primer. It's mill ammunition basically, so it has a redundancy as well. Shoots really well with that. As far as my carry ammunition, I'm not really experimental as much with carry ammunition, so Spear Gold Dot 124 standard pressure for this. Also, if there's been times where I've run HST, same thing, 124 standard pressure through this. But right now, Gold Dot is what I'm currently running, and that'll also apply this for most of the guns here. So great gun, happy with it. It's made me a better shooter because, again, it being so the trigger being so, what you would say, serviceable, or a combat trigger. That's a thing, but I'm just giving description. Combat trigger. Getting to know this gun has made me be able to shoot pretty much any of the other striker fired, hammer fired guns. It just makes you shoot better over time, if you any gun, of course. But moving on, I'll put this over here. All right, so what's my current EDC at the moment? So P30L. So this is what I wanted to basically step into when I found one at a reasonable price. So these can be a pain in the ass to find. And funny enough, so date code on that is a 2013. Date code on this is a 2013. I bought that new. I bought this one secondhand. Found it in a pawn shop down in Alabama, and it was in new condition when I received it, basically. So, and I think again, the main complaint a lot of people have with this gun is again the trigger. It's not a bad trigger. Double action is just heavy. Single action is really not bad. I wouldn't say it's anything where like some of your SRT SIGs, so your short reset trigger, SIGs P229, 228, 227, 226. It's again, it's serviceable, and you can get it done. But basically P30L, so it being a full size gun, longer barrel, so I guess you could say better ballistics, longer sight radius, so slightly easier to shoot. Not that the P30 is hard to shoot. On this has a X300 UB, the 1000 lumen version. I purchased this gun April 2019. As far as the 1000 lumen, I also purchased this April 2019, and they've been mated together. This gun doesn't have a lot of rounds through it. I'd say right now through me, I would say, I don't know how many it had before, but I don't think many, probably less than 50. But with me, I would say you're around 500 thus far with the few range trips I've had outdoors. It's awesome. Now, this gun, as far as how I carry it, again, I carry it in a Lux, the same universal Lux. What did I do with it? So because this holster, the holster is universal. So as far as as long as it has an X300 on it, it allows me to run it. So this is one of the first universal holsters that I found out about that was, kind of minimalist, but still functional, where you could reholster. There's some out there that are universal, but they get a little more tricky, like the Vanguard. I have one of those, little tricky. You have to remove the holster, then reholster, and then put it back on. Little cumbersome. That's technically the way they tell you to do it. You can do it. I just don't recommend it. But this has worked out great. The Armadillo Concealment, I bought this February 2017, and I was originally running it with the P30. So to move from the P30 to the P30L with this holster, there is really it's nothing more cumbersome, really. There's a slight difference in weight, but they're pretty close. You don't really notice it. Again, there's no change. The grip on the P30s are full size already, so I was already used to that. So it was just more so I was just getting a little more, ballistic, so to speak, velocity because of a longer barrel. But works perfectly in the system. And this is what I run. It has a nice little patina. You can see, it's aged well. So soft loops you see the brass behind it. Typically on my holsters. So I learned this trick from John Hartman, who's Filster holster. So John was local here in Philadelphia, but basically kind of this 3M suede removes some of the hot spots that you have associated with holsters, especially appendix. This stuff can make all the difference. Once you apply it, generally speaking, you're pretty much good to go. And I've been running it like that. So moving forward from the P30L, we move into, so this is like the alternate. So this is the Glock 32, which is chambered in 357 SIG. I like 357 SIG. Again, Yes, it is more expensive. It is expensive. Therefore, this doesn't get shot as often. But generally, if I'm carrying this is if I'm more if I'm a feeling a little lazy, so I step down in capacity a little bit, but technically step up in power a little bit. Not that that really matters. Shot placement is what matters, but um, you know, it's a simple, you know, uh, it's a simple option. Um, as far as so this would typically be run, and I won't run another mag, so it'll be 13 plus one, so 14. Um, as far as this, when this came on, I purchased this March 2016. Um, I used to carry it in a basically a filter access, and then I just decided to get a light for it. So the X300 I bought last year. So the 1000 lumen, this is a 1000B, and this was purchased May 2019. Through this gun, I have about a case of 357. So I have Fiocchi, a case of Fiocchi, 1000 rounds minimum as far as, you know, of course, defensive, trying out defensive ammunition. So I'd say, let's say 1250 rounds through it. No issues. It's a Gen 4. I bought this used. It does have a set of the True Glow, so the TFO sights, I believe they're called. They're fine. They're, you know, they're kind of like a hybrid between basically tritium and then also uh, you know, fiber optic. So in the daylight, like, you know, shooting outside, which I like to do, they're awesome. They're a different hold, so they have again some like the HKs. The HKs have kind of a uh, like a 6 o'clock hold. So basically, the dot is your point of impact for most distances up to 25 yards. This, as far as the sight picture, it's going to be the bleeding top edge of that sight is generally. Uh, I think that's a 6 o'clock hold. The other one is a 12. I don't know, but a little bit different. Of course, moving from the HKs, uh, grip angle is a little bit different. Not that it's a big deal. It's just a little bit different. You got to get used to that. As far as 357 SIG, it's a little bit louder in comparison. Not that it really matters, but um, recoil is a little bit more. But to me, I prefer 357 SIG recoil to 40 Smith and Wesson, and that's I can't explain it other than I think it's probably has to do with the projectile too. Um, it being I guess that opposing force, it just feels a little bit like a plus P 9mm versus 40, which just seems a little bit sloppier to me. At least in polymer frame guns like this, like a 23 doesn't feel as good as this does to me. And I forgot to mention sights for the others. So on the so this currently still is running the factory sights. So it's a 3-dot standard square notch, and these are not tritium. These are actually like a luminescent paint. Perfect. So it doesn't really. So night sights are really a big deal for me because again, I run a WML. So really, the the light rather overpowers it, especially in dark situations. So it's not a big deal, and you should be able to positively identify who's potentially a threat. But yeah. So in comparison, so that does need a ledge. So I do plan on replacing the sights for that, but this has a 10/8 rear. So this has a U-notch. And then also as far as the front sight is stock, still luminescent. But it does have a ledge on it. The Glock has a ledge on it, but the P30 does not. So one of the things is, and I do plan on doing all 4 at the same time. I want to get a set of sights that is consistent across all of them. So I think night vision might be the route in the future as far as getting that done. But right now, it is running stock. So this is typically what I call a backup gun. I don't typically carry this as a primary. If I'm carrying if I'm carrying this, it's usually supplemented. Not again, I don't carry a backup gun because I think uh, my first gun goes down, my primary, and I switch to this. It's more so potentially to arm somebody else. So typically, I have friends that are also gun people, and the idea being, or I'm with my wife, so having a second gun, it's a good option, and it doesn't really cost me too much, as far as weight. It's pretty light. My belt, my foundation is pretty strong, so I don't really have issues as far as carrying this. As far as one issue, so got this May 27. This doesn't have a lot of rounds. This probably has maybe 250 rounds through it. Not a lot of rounds. But one thing I will say about the shield is I do not like this broken fulcrum trigger. In particular, for whatever reason, I guess just based off how I approach it, I can, so again, gun is clear, for some of you people. So, so when I approach the trigger, what happens is I get this grinding because I don't engage. So to me, it wants me to, how I approach the trigger is it wants me to drag towards the bottom of the trigger. And I approach it from dead center. And when I approach it dead center, I don't always get it because you have the broken fulcrum of how it operates is that needs to allow clearance, so that little lip comes up and now it's able to be depressed. So that I would like to get swapped out for Apex. I'll probably get that at some point, and then I'll start shooting this more. But in a pinch, I'm able to shoot it. And I think I had one malfunction with a friend one time. I did have a malfunction, not I think. For whatever reason, maybe it was just a breaking in, but it locked up. And I think it might have been a situation. So in these, there's I guess, there's the Glock way to take it down, which requires you firing it, but there's also this little lever in here which allows you to break it down without pulling the trigger. So I guess maybe that wasn't all the way up and it locked the gun up, but I was able to press that in and it started working again. So I don't know if that was the case, but it was a weird situation that I wasn't able to replicate. Hopefully in the future, I'll shoot it some more and see how it does. Forgot to say, so for the Glock 32, I'm sorry I'm all over the place. It's a lot easier thinking you have a game plan before, and then you come in here and you're just unprepared. But for the Glock 32, ammunition that I typically carry, again, gold dots. So for the 357 SIG, if you want the number, so 53918 is the one that I specifically carry. That's loaded in the gun currently, so that's 125. And then I have, believe it or not, in the mags currently, from back in the day, I just haven't gone through them yet, but old HydroShock. This is recent production, but the old style pre-HST HydroShock. So I run those in spare, but still decent ammo. But loaded currently, I have fresh Spear Gold Dot 125, and then those if I'm carrying that with. In the shield, what I typically run as far as ammunition is basically HST 124 standard pressure. That's, you know, tried and true. You know, and then also I also have so I run the 7-round flush fit mag, and then I run in the right rear pocket next to the tourniquet. Works perfectly where I run the 8-rounder and carry it that way. So got my whole bunch of stuff that I wrote down on my sheet. So yeah, so as far as the mag carrier, so the mag carrier has been in rotation for quite a bit. So April 2016 is when so it's a Bravo concealment. As you can see, it's held up pretty well. And I'm sorry, my camera is so shitty, it doesn't show all the patina, but you can see like the actual, like the inserts, they're showing the brass. This I have like, you know, Vibratite, it's hold. Sometimes I just have to adjust the retention a little bit depending on if I'm running polymer mags or if or not polymer mags, Glock mags, or if I'm running, you know, your HK steel mags. There is a little bit of a difference, and sometimes it loses tension a little bit, but no big deal. It's held up excellently, you know. So, you know, 4 years now, and it still looks pretty new. You don't see all the patina, I guess, in it, but excellent. As far as so I have made a little bit of a transition. So, or I'm doing less so. So though I carry the Shield appendix, I don't really carry compact or full-size guns appendix at the moment. Though I have the capability to, I just don't. And that can be sometimes just based off of driving. So usually 3 tends to be more comfortable. I guess my favorite carry position is really technically 3 o'clock outside the waistband. I mean, that's easy all day long. You can pretty much carry anything. But, you know, I will say, you know, so this is for the Shield, this is a Tenacore Velo. This has been in rotation since October 2019, so relatively new. It notably has a hump on the back. So this is a little controversial to me. So this holster, so the retention, I like the retention on it. It's you know, it's positive. You can hear it. I don't like this clip, this Utila clip or whatever it is. It has kind of like a built-in little wing that wraps around. It's a pain in the ass if you've already got so I have everything set up, and this is the last thing to go on, and this clip is a pain in the ass. I'm a soft loops guy. I kind of learned that, you know, through, I guess I learned it maybe, I don't know, through my journeys on YouTube, but I guess I'm not a clip guy. I think maybe, you know, clip designs have improved, but, you know, it's kind of hard to take a holster that is, you know, literally, you know, enclosed in a loop that has a snap. So I don't like this. I was running it. The only reason I got the clip is I was trying to experiment with a way to run a smaller gun appendix, right? And one of the things with appendix carry that can be an issue is sometimes with a soft loop, there's not enough tension to keep the gun vertical. So I don't like the gun when it starts sagging to the left, you know, or rather the right. And this grip is already small, so getting an efficient grip on a small runway, you know, it can be a little bit more awkward. So I prefer to have it vertical, but this hump, why it's controversial to me is it kind of digs into me a little bit more than I want. And what I was running before that made it to where I wanted to try the Velo is I was running the Filster, and I like this holster a lot. It's very minimalist, but with a small gun, again, there's not much, you know, ability because again, it has a shorter barrel to get that proper leverage to keep the gun, you know, upright. And then also, you can see this has got some time. This was in May 2017, so similar to when the gun came in. So I purchased this then. You can see it has a little patina. And on the back, again, I have my rough, but you know, have my suede, take out some of the hot spots for me. You know, I find myself going back to this holster when I'm running two guns. It's I'm looking for something that doesn't cant, and I want, if again, I'm a smaller dude, so again, my hips are only, you know, there's only so much space between my hips and everything. So, you know, from sitting, standing, I don't necessarily want that. If it feels better if it just stays upright, at least in my experience. Alternate holster, so all right, alternate holster. So this is from Pitbull Tactical. I purchased this November 2016. Again, outside the waistband, super comfortable. 3 o'clock, typically where I wear it. Again, light bearing for the X300. It has just been great. One thing that I don't like is when I received this, I thought I had mentioned no cant, but this has a slight cant to it. It's not a big deal. It's only 10 degrees, but it does annoy me a little bit, especially because I like to be right on 3 o'clock. So it's a little bit of a weird approach, but it's still awesome. Still a good holster. They no longer make holsters anymore, so this is kind of, you know, the last of its kind. You can see the black on the screws have worn out. You see all the brass. And again, this holster also only works with the AG enhanced, or not enhanced, the standard belt, not the enhanced version, because there's not much, as you can see, clearance between the body and the holster. So it's been great. Hope I'm not boring you guys too much. As far as this, the Filster Floodlight, this is a more recent one. This is 1019. Great holster. I took the wing off mine, so I don't run it with the actual wing. It's a little bit too much for me, but it's a great holster. I have it adjusted where it's a little bit higher up. So again, in seated positions, it's a little bit easier on me, so I don't need it so deep, again, because I'm a shorter guy. And leverage-wise, again, I have a little bit of suede to kind of help with that. So there's that. All right. So moving forward, so the knife, so the Emerson, that has been in since so March 2018 is when I switched to this. Before, I was carrying an Emerson Mini Commander, which I purchased in December 2015. This is a little, I mean, again, most people would consider this to be a little bit of a larger knife. I don't really know too much about knives, other than I wanted a knife that was, you know, most people would consider sturdy. At the time, I didn't know about Zero Tolerance having their versions, but you know, it serves its purpose. It's always there. you know, or at least in the States, it's always there. I chose the sheepdog because at the time, the Emerson fleet, it had the smoothest action. So it has, again, a flipper, which is something I wanted to get. And again, it was easier to stay within the same manufacturer. So the flipper, and then also it has the ball bearing. So in comparison to my Mini Commander, it is a smoother action. Not a big deal. You could do the same function with a $10 knife, but again, I wanted to, get something that, is a nice knife, but, I don't have to necessarily worry about it. Not that I would, but I do. So yeah, the knife's been great. I did look up, so the metal is a 154 cm stainless steel G10 grips. As far as the blade profile, it's a V grind. I tried to sharpen my Mini Commander. It didn't go so well because they have a weird grind, which I learned later. But hey, got a new knife. So, as far as the light, so light-wise, I'm carrying a Surefire E2T MV Tactician. It's an awesome light, 800 lumens. As far as function, it's more so, it doesn't have a hotspot. It's more like a flood. It does have a minimal hotspot. It's great. I think as far as administrative stuff, so as far as like when it's in the five lumens or 15 lumens in the low version, or if it's at high lumens, it's perfectly adequate. I enjoy it. It's held up well. It's gone around the world. It's just, again, another defensive tool, both as far as illumination, but also as far as a object that can be used in a pinch. So there's that. Pen's been in, the light's been in service since Surefire's been in since March 2018. So no issues. The Cabela's multi-tool, I had a hard time figuring out when I originally put that, so that's sometime around 2015 is when I was running that. The other alternate belt, just as a reference, is the AG Sahance. So this is what I'm carrying, 2 guns in particular. This is just, it's the same belt profile. It's just a little bit thicker in comparison to the standard belt. So if you're looking, you can kind of already see it. Sturdy. So this has been in since 3/18, so March 2018, and no issues. It's been great. I really like their belts. All right. As far as the, let's see. Zippo lighter, that's relatively new. So I didn't carry it. So again, I'm not a smoker or anything like that. And I mean, again, there's always a utility of having the ability to make fire, but it being a gift, I integrated it, and I dig it. So that's basically August 2019. What else? Yeah, I mean, relatively, I mean, my EDC is kind of straightforward. It's kind of practical, I think. Some people would say, it's a lot of stuff and they carry less. You certainly, carry more and you can certainly carry less. There's really no right answer, but I think the things that I've chosen to carry are thoughtful for most situations people might encounter. Um, I'm always an advocate again for training, and though the gear side of it is fun, um, it's still not a substitute for actually getting out there and practicing and then also training. There is a difference. Um, if you guys want to do any other videos, well, I plan to do other videos talking about my other setups, so rifle setups. There's some things that I'm still waiting to get the chance to bring them online, but kind of what I've chosen. I'd be happy to go into that. All right. So I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, tourniquet. I think that went into service May 2017. I didn't say when that was. And I don't know if anybody's asked any questions in the chat. I saw there was a few people who actually stopped in, which is really cool. Cool. All right. No questions. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I'm going to continue, of course. Continue. Sorry. So I'm going to continue. It was playing for a second, but continue to run this stuff, and I'll give an update soon. Thanks, guys.